everyone, and welcome to the video. Well, it's that time. Time to take the Carolina Skiff 162 JLS up to Whalen Bay Marine for its annual service. I thought I would take this opportunity while it's hooked to the truck, I got it out of the garage, still nice and clean, to give you my 1 year of ownership review of my Carolina Skiff. Spoiler alert, I love the boat. That being said, after owning it for a year, there are a couple things I think Carolina Skiff could definitely improve on, and I want to go into those in a little more detail later in the video. Well, seeing as that we have the boat hooked to the truck, no better time to go into the towing and launching characteristics of my Carolina Skiff 162 JLS. And as you can see, my tow vehicle is just a mid-size Ford Ranger. I believe it has somewhere in the neighborhood of 270 horsepower, a 7,500 pound tow capacity, and it tows this boat like it's not even back there. And can we just stop for a minute and look how beautiful the boat ramp is this morning in St. Augustine? That's why we live in St. Augustine, right there. But back to the towing and the launching. The boat's super easy to back, super easy to launch. I launch it by myself all the time. It's a real breeze. Just back it right off there. I'll tie it up, run around there, get in the truck, pull it up, walk back to the boat, and off we go. Unfortunately, one of the few downsides to fishing is having to put fuel in your boat and your tow vehicle. Fortunately, this 90 horse Suzuki on the Carolina Skiff gets pretty good fuel economy. At 25 to 30, I've got as much as 8 miles per gallon. In my truck, towing the vehicle in Florida, which is, pretty flat, I've towed it down to the Keys, and I average somewhere between 16.5 and 17 miles per gallon. One thing I have noticed when fueling my Carolina Skiff is because of the venting system on it, those last, 2 to 4 gallons, you sort of got to baby it in there to get it topped off. That venting system is super safe. You're not going to overflow the boat on accident. So that's just one thing to keep in mind if you want to pack as much fuel in as you can. Well, here we're back in my driveway, and we're going to do an exterior walk around of the Carolina Skiff. I'm going to start out back here where you get a good full view of the boat, and then we're going to get right up on it where you can get a good close look at how the gel coat is held up after a year of exclusive use in saltwater. All right, we'll start back here at the stern, and you'll notice right away down there in my lower unit that I'm missing a little paint. No, I didn't run aground. This boat doesn't have a mark on its hull anywhere. It floats in like 6 inches of water, no problem. Little operator error. You cannot goose the throttle in 6 inches of water. You need to idle out in about 2 foot of water, then you can give a little throttle and get out of there. So a little bit of a learning curve for me. You'll see my trim tabs there and my transducer. As we get a little closer and walk around, you'll notice the finish on the boat. There's no wax on this boat anywhere. That is a ceramic coat that I put on the boat when I first got it, and I've just simply maintained it over the last year. A year of 100% saltwater use, and you can literally see yourself in the finish on that gel coat. The gel coat's held up really well. I've had some subscribers ask for a video on how I keep my boat up. I'll put one of those out soon, and you're going to be amazed at how little effort it takes to keep the boat looking like this. And another huge benefit to using the ceramic is the scum lines that you get from getting back up in the creeks. They literally just wipe off. There's no scrubbing at all. It's super simple, super easy. Back to the trim tabs. One thing, I guess I'll say a negative on this boat with Carolina Skiff is you have to have trim tabs or you will not like the boat. And I'll just leave it at that. It will porpoise with the motor completely trimmed in. With the trim tabs, it's a dream. So just go into it knowing you have to have some sort of trim tabs. And these are Let's Go trim tabs, and I absolutely love them. As you can see, you can literally see the fender on the trailer and the finish. You can see me walking by. You can see the rocks on the ground. The finish has really held up over the past year. Now let's go to the interior. We'll go up to the bow, where my bow running light, the electrical socket, no corrosion whatsoever. My anchor cleat there rarely gets used because I use my trolling motor spot lock almost 100% of the time. But no corrosion there, looks really good. My console there with my remote tilt and trim, the 12 volt, and my trolling motor plug still looks really nice. My exposed deck, the parts that don't have the C deck on it, still looking really good after a year. One change I made to the boat, you'll notice I have a pedestal seat leaning post so that, number one, I can see better. I don't have that big seat with a back on it in front of me when I'm trying to drive. And also when I'm fighting a fish, I'm almost at a standing position. It's a much more stable fighting position, especially if you're on the jetties dealing with boat wakes and everything else. For a boat this size, you'll notice it has a pretty decent front deck. Plenty of room there to fight fish, move around without worrying about, falling down into the cockpit. Take a look at some of the hardware now. One of the complaints that I will also say about Carolina Skiff, actually in the 6-month video, I was kind of praising their latches and their hinges. Well, after a year, it's starting to show some problems. You'll notice here on the next one, I've actually broke the hinge. The corrosion got to the point where I guess it bound up and broke. And I think you can tell from the rest of the boat I keep it up pretty well, or I try to. And it's just those aren't holding up. I'm going to need to replace all the hinges and all the latches here pretty soon. And I don't know if I'll go with a different manufacturer or just try some other method of trying to keep them up a little bit better. Well, as you'll also see, the inside of the boat looks just as good on the outside with that ceramic finish. The gel coat has held up really well over the past year, and it's had a lot of blood splattered on it. I've got 2 bait wells. I've not had any problem with bait dying. Absolutely love it. Down here I've got 2 Simrad speakers. The stereo on the boat, very nice for a 16-foot boat if you care about that sort of thing. Got a permanent VHF. I do take the boat offshore. That's a little extra safety measure I like to have. Up on top of my center console, I've got the Simrad Go 9 bottom machine. Absolutely love it. It's got more features than I'll ever learn how to use. Got my troll mode and my Lenco trim tab controls. Be honest with you, the troll control is a waste of money. Be honest with you. But the trim tabs, couldn't live without them. I love them. And the Lenco trim tabs are doing a fantastic job. Absolutely wonderful. Now we're going to go down the port side of the boat. Let's look at all the hardware all the way down. Most of the hardware on the boat's held up really well. I'm just really disappointed in the hinges. But like I said, I'll get those replaced and I'll try to do a little bit better job of keeping after them, I guess. You'll see a little bit of discoloration on one of the screws there. And then over on the starboard side, you'll see some rust in the latch, and you'll see the green corrosion in the hinge itself. And in all fairness to that area of the boat, I run that live well pump pretty hard because I do like a little overflow. I feel like that overflow going out the rear scuppers gives me a little bit of a scent trail. I don't know. I think it helps. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. You'll see a little rust there. That one looks pretty decent. But you'll notice this back one where the overflow leaves, you'll see that green corrosion. And like I said, I'll do what I can to keep up with it, but I guess I need to do a little bit better job. Now we're going to take a trip down the starboard side. And again, most all the fittings, the eyelets there. Oh, this is obviously the aft socket for my anchor light and my running lights. That stays in super good shape, no corrosion in there. Now we're going to go down the starboard side. You'll see all the hardware, my cleats, my eyelets. They're all holding up pretty well, so no complaints there. It's just, again, the latches and the hinges. What you see there is a little storage bag that I've got to keep my fire extinguisher in, and I'll keep my flares, my portable radio, and I've got another sound making device. There's a horn on the boat, but I use one of your portable air horns as well. And what we're zooming up on here now is I actually installed a raw water washdown that I teed into my bait well pump. It works pretty well. And I didn't have to install another pump to do it. Just teed that off, and then on the back side of that there's a valve. This will give you a little, from the stern to the bow, give you a little idea of the room in the boat. The boat fishes a lot bigger than a 16-foot boat. I mean, let's face it, it's a 16-foot boat, but it fishes super well. And now we're looking back from the bow to the stern. Now the fun begins. The next series of clips will showcase the fishability and versatility of the Carolina Skiff 162 JLS, followed by another series of clips that will demonstrate hull performance in a variety of different conditions. Enjoy.